Year 12, it's Mrs. Reed here, and today we're going to talk about marketing in I, Daniel Blake. The first thing we're going to do though is a bit of retrieval. So last lesson we talked quite a lot about the ownership and funding models of the film. So I would like to know, firstly, who directed I, Daniel Blake, what genre the film is, which companies co-produced the film, and who else provided funding for I, Daniel Blake? Can you pause the video and complete those 4 questions now, please? Okay, so well done if you had that the director is Ken Loach, that the film is a social realist, or you may have said social realism. So a social realist independent movie. It was co-produced by 16 Films, which is Ken Loach's company, alongside 2 international foreign production companies, Why Not Films and Wild Bunch, who provided funding while they were 2 important cultural institutions in the UK, the BBC and the BFI. So today we're interested in the marketing of the film. And I know you've talked a lot about film marketing when we looked at Black Panther and through your study of film posters and marketing with Miss Riley. And as part of this, I will be asking you to undertake some independent study in analysing some film posters for this text. However, today we're going to ask some questions. So at the end of this lesson, I'm going to be asking you to complete these 3. I want to know, how is the film marketed to regional, national and global audiences? I want to know what the term guerrilla marketing means. And also, how might this marketing campaign challenge Karan and Seaton's ideas about media industries? Okay, so let's have a look at how this film was marketed. When we think about the marketing of any movie, we have to think about the construction of an audience. Now, an audience is really a specific group of people who is being deliberately and directly targeted. When we talk about constructing an audience, this means that the producers of a film and its distributors will have thought about how and why they can get the film to a particular group of people. So they would have modelled this, constructed who they think the audience are, what political beliefs they might hold that are reflected in this film. They might think about their age, their location, any other cultural interests that they might have. And they would have thought about this before the film is made and marketed. So it's about that audience categories, whether they fit into a particular, national or regional identity, whether they might be linked by their social issues, income, education, or their ideas and their values. So by targeting in this way, the media products have the potential power to shape how audiences see themselves and their sense of a collective identity. So we're interested in the construction of the audience for I, Daniel Blake. We might consider some of these ideas as we go through: the location of the audience, their class and political ideology, their cultural interests, and whether or not they're an already pre-sold audience, in this case, fans of Ken Loach and the social realist genre. Let's start with the idea of location. So in order to get the film out to audiences, the distributor appealed to local grassroots organisations and got them to help organise screenings. So the distributor, just for a small fee, was able to rent places in community groups where the film could be screened. These could be screened free of charge. In fact, they could be opened up to a voluntary contribution, audiences being able to pay whatever price they felt was appropriate to the film. So this led to the film being available in venues that we would not normally associate with film exhibition, so like town halls, for example. And it also means that the film is being promoted to a much wider target audience. People are not having to pay the full cost of a ticket in a mainstream cinema. So we're getting much smaller, more niche audience interest. The film is distributed through the British Film Institution, who works with a company called E1 to sign a distribution and marketing agreement. E1 decide to adopt an approach where they employ 5 regional marketing managers. So that means in the UK, they work with managers in different areas. Normally we expect that London is sort of the heart really of film promotion, that we're going to be seeing lots of the marketing done to London audiences and in London cinemas. And this is not the case with this film at all. The regional areas focus outside of London, to those communities that more often are going to feature in Ken Loach's films. And they work at a grassroots level with local communities to try and get that conversation going before the film is released. And screenings are held then in places like Newcastle, Blackpool, and they also occur in the same cities as political party conferences, so the autumn conferences of parties such as the Conservatives. And demonstrations were held outside of those political conferences to draw attention to the social issues that are represented in the film, things like austerity and the benefits cap and benefit sanctions. And we have a really powerful movement here of people who have been affected by these cuts, people who even suggest that their loved ones had died after being told that they were ineligible for benefits and that they should return to work. So what we see is a really powerful message being sent out about the ideas that are presented in the film and how these actually really affect people in their day-to-day lives. So that focus not on London is important. The UK premiere for the film actually takes place in Newcastle, and we know that Newcastle is the setting for the film where it was shot and where the narrative takes place. And this is also a powerful method. E1 say that to take a film home gives its people cultural ownership. It's theirs. This is a really political film, so it's important to target it directly to the people who live in the city and presented, through the film. In fact, there's an interesting interview with Alex Hamilton. He's the executive, British executive for E1, and he says that when he first saw the film at Cannes, he wasn't anticipating the way that he would feel. He says, I was in bits by the end. And so once he had seen the film at that international film festival, he just remembers talking to Loach and saying, we can do something here. This is the kind of thing that gets you up in the morning. So the political power of the film and its impact on the audience was keenly felt by Hamilton, who wanted to be involved in its marketing. He says then that the premiere in Newcastle was significant. They deliberately turned down London. They said London isn't appropriate for the premiere of this film. He also says that they approached Trinity Mirror, that is a newspaper group, who helped then to push the film into the mainstream media, and that the editorial campaign with Trinity Mirror was, in terms of its value, worth something like up to 15 million, which is, he says, just insane. So this is deemed as a really successful marketing campaign for E1. So let's have a look at how it worked. Well, we can refer to this as guerrilla marketing. So when we use that, we mean that marketing techniques are not conventional, they're unorthodox or unusual. So this sort of marketing often uses stunts, unconventional events. It tries to construct brand visibility on a wide scale, not just by using traditional forms of media. So make sure you've made a note of that key term. And I want you to think, were any guerrilla marketing strategies perhaps used in the promotion of Black Panther? Pause the video here and just make a few notes on what you think. Okay, let's have a look at the collaboration then with Trinity Mirror. Now, Trinity Mirror owns the Daily Mail. So E1 collaborated with this, and it's a left-of-centre tabloid, so a politically left-leaning tabloid newspaper, which has a broad working-class readership. So this is significant in the construction of the audience. They're clear that they perceive their audience to be politically aligned with the views represented within the film. Furthermore, they go on to offer free tickets, I think up to 10,000 free tickets to readers of the Daily Mirror. And they're able to overtake things like the masthead with this graffiti-style font, articles within the newspaper itself, as well as technological convergence. So we see the promotion of the film, not just in the actual newspaper, the printed version, but on its website, on social media. We see actually through a company called Newsworks. Now, Newsworks promotes the kind of power of mainstream newspapers, and they also look at the impact that certain marketing campaigns have had, so that they can then sell marketing to a wide range of different companies. So Newsworks look at this and they say that it was a challenge to raise awareness and encourage audiences to go to the cinema. So they needed to link the film's topical themes with current affairs. So they knew that the film would resonate with Trinity Mirror's editorial news agenda and its left-leaning readership. So they decided that they would use this multi-platform campaign to help E1 promote the film. They gave the character of Daniel Blake a voice across the newspapers and its websites. So this is in contrast really to the film. In the film, Daniel Blake doesn't have a powerful voice. He's lost within the benefit system. His identity is fading. So this is a really powerful campaign to give voice to the powerless, to promote the voice of Daniel Blake to a readership who themselves may feel that their voices aren't heard. So they use the column My Britain, which is based on the Mirror's weekly series Real Britain, where they use the character of Daniel Blake to talk about the issues raised in the film. And they also exploit the real disruptive capacity of digital content, utilising those online marketing campaigns, which pop-ups, different ways to kind of disrupt our kind of visual field and what we're seeing online to show you that this is an important film. It's making a political stance and message, and we should take note of it. There's a little bit more on Show My Homework, a document attached, where Newsworks talks about the campaign and evaluates its success. So I would encourage you to go away and have a read of that. E1 didn't stop there then. Their guerrilla marketing campaign can be seen through the use of graffiti art and outdoor projections. This also creates further visibility for the product. See how we've moved here from a regional level, targeting specific audiences, say in Newcastle, to now a national level, where they are projecting quotes from and the iconography of the film onto the Houses of Parliament. There were further engagement with the audience then happened when people were encouraged to tweet, "We are Daniel Blake." So when they saw these projections, this street art, they were encouraged to tweet. And again, this is a really cost-free marketing strategy, getting people to engage and create an awareness of the product online with very little cost, really. And we know the power of that word of mouth, verbal kind of marketing from person to person is really, really important. So social media then, through that hashtag "We Are All Daniel Blake," is really important. And we can see that these graphics appeared where quotations were taken from people in all sorts of walks of life. One saying that how they themselves were impacted by austerity and benefit sanctions. People who view this as kind of conscious cruelty, I think as Ken Loach phrased it himself. This was a welfare rights advisor. So they got really high profile marketing campaign. These were retweeted by politicians on social media, including Jeremy Corbyn. And what happens is that I, Daniel Blake, then begins to enter political discourse. We see Loach interviewed on Newsnight. We see trade unions, promoting the cause of the film. We see it being raised within the Houses of Parliament, Prime Minister's questions. So this becomes a really important political topic. So although this may not be the first strategy undertaken by E1, it is an important one because the methods that they used and the political context of the film enable it then to become promoted much more widely. So it becomes a political, cultural event and not just a standard piece of film marketing. Okay, so we've talked about regional audiences, national audiences. Well, we know that this was a co-production between 16 films and some foreign film studios. So it stands to reason that there is going to be a variety of foreign trailers and film posters too. You can see actually the imagery for these uses quite different imagery to that powerful political stance that we've seen in the UK film poster. So we might want to explore a bit further why that is. We can see that the Palme d'Or, the award won by the film, features in both of these posters, as well as Ken Loach's name. So these are going to be significant factors in promoting the film. A really recognisable and celebrated award, as well as the popularity of Ken Loach and his previous success with international audiences. So we'll do a little bit of comparison in our analysis of the UK and the foreign film trailers and posters. Okay, this brings us to really think about Curran and Seaton. If you remember, Curran and Seaton's argument was that the media industries were driven by a desire for profit and power. And really that meant that a monopoly was held over the media industries, particularly those such as film, where those big and major conglomerates produce the majority of the media texts that we see. Part of Karan and Seaton's concerns is that this kind of reduction and concentration of ownership leads to a lack of variety and diversity, making it difficult for more diverse and smaller voices to be heard in the media. When we think about this in relation to I, Daniel Blake, I think this film text poses a challenge to those ideas. The British film industry, if we know, compared to Hollywood, has much lower budgets. So for I, Daniel Blake, the budget was low, £6 million. It's worthwhile just comparing that to our previous film text. What was the budget for Black Panther? I just want you to pause the video here and just write down the difference in budget of the two films. Okay, so this smaller budget means that potentially the film is going to generate a much lower profit and reach a smaller audience. However, that does allow them to be more creative. It allows them to take more risks and produce what might be described as more varied and potentially adventurous media products. We know that the BFI and the BBC were involved in financing the movie. And therefore, financing a low-budget film is good for the BBC. There's less risk. It's easier to have films that fit with their charter and the BBC's values. We know that those films are supposed to be socially aware, target different parts of the UK, promote cultural excellence, have new actors, British talent. So all of these things can be nurtured through a production such as I, Daniel Blake. What this poses then is a challenge really to the ideas stated by Karan and Seaton, that despite the lack of conglomerate involvement and profit and power, that these diverse patterns of ownership have created conditions which have led to a more diverse product. So in summary, these unconventional guerrilla marketing tactics really contribute to the success of the film. They may pose a challenge to Karan and Seaton's suggestion that profit and power dominate the film industry. And as an independent film, I, Daniel Blake, was able to achieve mainstream success by using those cost-effective, inventive and guerrilla marketing strategies. Okay, that leads us back to our questions. So I want you to write a summary, please, of how the film is marketed, both at regional, national and global level. What guerrilla marketing is, and perhaps some examples from I, Daniel Blake and even Black Panther 2. And how does the campaign challenge Karan and Seaton's ideas about the media industries? You may wish to use some of our sentence level writing kind of practice to order your thoughts. I would really encourage you to do that. And I will pop on to Show My Homework a short analysis task for exploring national and international film posters. Okay, have a good day.